someone else who isn't afraid to give his full take about the January 6th anniversary and Joe Biden's address, Sebastin Gorka and Mike Graham, two guys who are vying to be, I guess they're competing in a like a costume contest to see who most looks like a guy who will buy beer for teenagers if they promise to sit on his lap.
Now let's have a listen to Joe Biden, who claims to be the president of the United States of America.
He actually is the president of the United States of America, but nice try.
But listen to this.
And here's the truth. The former president of the United States of America has created and spread a web of lies about the 2020 election.
True.
He's done so because he values power over principle.
True.
Because he sees his own interest as more important than his country's interest, than America's interest.
Yep.
And because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost.
Yeah, all right, Joe. Get over it, son. I mean, I don't know why he's still banging on about Donald Trump. Let's talk to...
Well, it was the anniversary. He doesn't talk about it all the time. It's the only time he's actually brought him up. And he brought him up on January 6th because of the violence of that day. I don't know why you're still banging on about Donald Trump.
To Sebastin Gorka from America First. Sebastin, a very good...
Speaking of someone who's always banging on about Donald Trump, Sebastin Gorka.
Well, good morning to you and a very happy new year.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'll notice you're still not over Trump's loss. You've been going on about it every fucking day, the whole year. And you name him by, personally, all the time.
Mike, happy New Year. Did you have to play that clip? It's really early here, Mike.
I'm sorry, but I think the good people of the Independent Republic need to know how old deranged Joe seems to be carrying on. Because, I mean, he's like a man obsessed, for heaven's sake.
Yeah,
Yes, he's so obsessed, this is the only time he's spoken of him in the last year.
To send a memo to the putative president, to the mainstream media, to the crazies on cable TV. My old boss hasn't been president for a year, guys.
Right.
I mean...
Yes, and you say that he won all the time, and you won't shut up about that fact, that you believe so. So, why?
TDS is real. Trump derangement syndrome is real. And can I just doff my cap? I have to recognize in front of all of your viewers and listeners, Mike Graham is the only guy on British radio who's giving you the alternative, real story about what happened a year ago here in DC. So,
oh, you mean the guy who he's the only guy on British radio who's also obsessed with Trump and won't let it go. I see.
Mike, but this speech, this doddering senile old git talked about the armed insurrectionists, and
yes, the armed insurrectionists. Get out of here. Close so many friggin' things. I gotta shrink this down. Donald Trump. There were no guns whatsoever at the Capitol riot on January 6th. False. President Trump claimed on Fox News there were no guns in the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. During an on-air conversation with Trump on July 11th morning, Sunday Morning Futures, host Maria Bartiromo twice broached the topic of whether guns were present during the attack. They called it an armed insurrection, yet no guns were seized. Bartiromo said before describing it as misinformation spread about Trump. Later, she repeated the assertion. They continue all this in an armed insurrection, yet no guns were seized, Mr. President. Right, there were no guns whatsoever. Court documents, video evidence, and news coverage directly contradict this characterization. Many of those involved in the attack were armed. Several had guns that police later seized. The event was far from a love fest. 5 people died, including a Capitol police officer, and more than 140 officers were injured in the day's events. Video evidence show both police officers and rioters being injured in the brawls. Rioters called for hanging then Mike Pence and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Damage to the Capitol is estimated $1.5 million and included ransacking offices, broken windows and doors, broken and stolen photography equipment, ruined statues, murals, and furniture. A pending security funding bill provides dollars to cover related expenses, including tightened security and trauma counseling. PolitiFact reviewed the case files of approximately 430 defendants who were arrested and charged for their actions at the Capitol. We found several defendants who police say were found to have brought firearms with them. Some were charged with having firearms on Capitol grounds, while others stashed them away while in Washington. They include Lonnie Kaufman of Alabama. They include Guy Reffitt of Texas. They include Christopher Michael Alberts of Maryland. They include our ruling Trump and said there were no guns whatsoever. People with no guns. Court records and news reports show that many insurrectionists were armed, and several were charged with having firearms on Capitol grounds or stashed nearby while in Washington, D.C. In addition, there was a guy with a whole truckload of guns that the idea it was just like a half a block away. The idea that like once they got over there, everybody would go meet at his truck. Never got to converse with anybody because they shut off cell power in one area. So we rate the claim as false. Just saying. Yes, armed. Yes, fucking armed. He's a liar. He's a liar. They're lying.
My old boss demented.
Yeah.
If there's anybody demented, it's the old git sitting there in the White House, in his fake White House studio. Do you know they actually have a fake studio now for his White House? So across the street, a block away, there is a fake Oval Office. I don't know.
No, there is a set for doing Zoom calls and that kind of stuff. It's not ovular. It's not, he doesn't pretend to be in the Oval Office. It's simply a set. It's not round at all. It's not the Oval Office. There's no fake, there's no version of the desk, the Resolute desk. There's no images inside of it that match the inside of the Oval Office. It's a flat wall.
Maybe it's closer to the stuff they're pumping him with. That's why they have to keep him there. And the only person who's demented is him. We know he's senile. He's a doddery old git who's senile. And this person...
I noticed you've said git 3 times because you're trying to flex your British bona fides while both of you who live under a monarchy are telling us how our democracy should run?
Look, I don't care what your political party is, but...
That's a lie. Of course he does.
I don't care who you like for prime minister or president. It's never advisable in a national address to rail in an angry fashion against your fellow citizens.
No.
It doesn't work.
I mean,
well, no, it's these aren't our fellow citizens in that regard. These were insurrections. These people who separated themselves from the United States of America, these are effectively marauders from within. And even still, that's not calling out the rest of like all Trump voters, for example. Very important distinction.
Has Joe forgotten, by the way, Sebastin, that there were 75 million good, honest...
Yeah, none of whom invaded the Capitol. What's your fucking point?
...of the United States of America who took the trouble to go to the ballot and actually vote for Donald Trump. 75 million! You know, it's not like some...
Yeah. Fewer than voted for Biden. None of which were called out on this day. We're talking about a very specific subset of humans. Now, again, the argument keeps showing up that somehow, and they're making it right here, is that Biden is grouping all Trump voters and all Republicans in with the January 6th insurrectionists. He is doing no such thing, nor did he seek to do any such thing. They are. What Gorka and Mike Graham, Captain S'mores, two more s'mores over there are arguing is that those people who stormed the Capitol, who shit in the Capitol, who pissed on the columns, who destroyed artwork, statues, tapestries, stole laptops, attempted to sell them to Russia, threatened to hang Mike Pence, built a gallows, threatened to kill Nancy Pelosi. All those folks are indistinguishable from all the Trump voters. That's their case. That's what he's saying right there. He's saying they're the same people. He goes up there and you insult the people who stormed the Capitol. You are insulting all the people who voted for Trump. These two guys are insisting there is no bifurcation between those groups.
Small minority.
let's do the math here. I mean, look, if you want to believe that this old man who campaigned from his basement got 80 million votes, fine, I've got a bridge to.
He did. And by the way, he won. And here's the other thing. Let's just fantasize for a moment with Gorka that it was flipped around and that there was somehow. Can you imagine being kneecapped by Biden? Losing to Biden for Trump, legit or through chicanery, are both equally embarrassing.
You in Connecticut.
And also Biden won legit and fair and square. And these guys can't deal with the fact that their dude lost fair and square to Biden.
But when it comes to the last election, my old boss, Donald Trump, got more votes than any incumbent president in the history of the Republic.
That's because of mail-in voting. That is literally the availability of voting. Early voting and mail-in voting, which Republicans fight nonstop. If it hadn't been for COVID, the turnout aspect of it would have been way lower.
Right.
That's just a fact. After 4
Yeah, you would think he would be for mail-in voting.
years, 4 years, you know this, Mike, you've been covering this, of incessantly being called a misogynist, an Islamophobe, a
Right.
white supremacist,
Check.
a Nazi.
Check.
Yeah.
After 4 years,
Well, I take issue with the whole white supremacist thing because there's no way that Trump looks in a mirror and thinks he's a supremacist. He's supreme example of anything.
got 12 million more votes than he did the first time, and he got more Hispanic and Black American votes than any Republican president since the 19.
Yeah, because of the availability of mail-in votes. That change alone did it. The thing they've been fighting. More people vote, both of those things go up. And interestingly enough, there are conservatives in the Latino community and in the Black community that would like to vote for a Republican, but because of where they live and because of the strategic narrowing of their available like voting machines and sites by a lot of the the Republican legislatures of these states, they're like, well, since 85% of the Black people in this area are going to vote for the Democrat, we can stand to lose the 15% that might vote Republican. Fuck them. It's simply the act of making voting available that drove up that percentage. That's it.
60s. That's just the math of the situation. And if you want to piss off 74 million people, go ahead, Sleepy Joe, do it.
Why? Why would castigating the people who shit in our nation's capital upset 74 million people? Are they that weak and stupid? Are they that deluded? Are they that anti-American? Are you making the case that 74 million Americans hate this fucking country and hate democracy? Because most of them stayed the fuck home and griped and planned to vote next time. They didn't storm the Capitol. They didn't threaten anybody's life. Why is that their fucking problem? Why is the assumption that somehow those voters, because they voted Republican or because they voted for Trump, automatically are in line with people who would attack the fucking Capitol? Because I wouldn't make that assertion, but these guys do.
The midterm elections are a few months away.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the point about all of this, surely, is that he's dredging up something that happened a year ago, reconstruct.
Yeah, I mean, it's ancient fucking history. You know, granted, how long did Benghazi go on? And that wasn't an attack on our actual capital. Dredging up stuff, just dredging. It's dredging.
His own mind, telling people that this was an absolute and utter deliberate attempt by Donald Trump to somehow divide the nation. But he's the one dividing the nation by going on about it, isn't he?
Why? You're the one saying that half of America align with the people who stormed the Capitol. I think most decent Republicans would differ with you on that fact. I mean, again, they are making the case that the majority of Americans Republicans in this country don't like America and don't want it to continue as a democracy.
Absolutely. Look, my producer, my producer Jeff has the best political instincts, bar none.
Yeah, I mean, granted, his political instincts landed him as the producer of the Sebastin Gorka show, which is at the the rectal polyp end of the radio spectrum. But
And I'm trying to understand why this guy's standing up and he's sputtering like an angry old man. And Jeff nailed it on my radio show yesterday. He said, look, he is so tanking in the polls. He has the worst approval ratings of any modern president.
That's interesting. Well, it's not continuing to do that. Biden's approval rating steadies after taking a plunge. Oh, that's interesting. This button. Hold on. Get out of here. Whoops. Close. Let's see. There you go. Here you go. Fact check. Does Biden have the lowest approval rating of any president ever? This is the case that has just been made. PolitiFact's ruling false. It's just, and you don't have to think much of them. They actually back it up with numbers. Near the end of President Joe Biden's first year in office, some social media users are casting doubt his election by comparing the popular vote to poll numbers. He got 80 million votes, more than any president ever, yet has the lowest approval rating of any president ever. Post was flagged as false news. Won more than 81 million votes, 71 million. Here you go. December 20th, NPR, PBS, and Marist poll released a new survey of 2,400 Americans in mid-December. The poll found that Biden's job approval rating was 41%, the lowest score of his presidency. But it's not the lowest approval rating of any president ever, as the Facebook post claims. In November, for example, NPR and the Marist poll released the results of another survey that found Biden's approval rating at 42% among all Americans. When comparing Biden to his predecessor, the latest number is just below the highest approval rating Donald Trump received in our polls during his 4 years in office. The worst Biden has ever done is within the margin of error of Donald Trump. The Gallup Presidential Job Approval Center, drawn from the Gallup polls dating back to the Truman presidency, also shows that Biden doesn't have the lowest approval rating ever. Former presidents Harry Truman, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush all had approval ratings below 30%. In October, CNN used the Gallup data to conclude that Biden had the second lowest approval rating of any president that Gallup had measured at that moment in their presidency, about 9 months into the term. Trump had a lower rating of 37%. Looking at the most recent data available from Gallup, that was still true. Trump was at 37% at this point in his presidency. He never got above 44%. Biden hit his lowest at 41/42%, depending on who you ask, at that point, and has stabilized and has been going up. Trump, 37% at the same point in his presidency. 538, which also looks at Biden popularity and how he compares to past presidents, reached the same conclusion. We rate this post false. He's got a 43.1 approval rating. It's coming back up. Disapproval's going down. Let's see. All polls. Polls of likely or registered voters. 43.2 approve in that case. Poll of adults. If you do all adults, he's got a fit. It's even better for him. 42.8 to 50% disapprove. It actually brings it down. Let's see. Where's Trump? There you go. Here's Trump at the 1 year point. 39.5. 41. Almost, it's interesting. Lower, but humping right along at 42% the whole fucking time. Look at that. By the way, 42.5, there's Clinton back down here, and then Clinton in his first year got to 36.8, 37.8 here. So, yeah, so here you go. At the same point in their presidency, Biden is at, here you go. Let's just blow this sucker up. Here's Donald Trump. This is this is their approval rating at the same point in their presidency. Here's the last moment of it. At this point, Biden is at 43.1 and Trump was at 39.1. Trump is almost a full 4 points lower, depending on which one you read. He's outside the margin of error, lower if they're going 3%. Does anybody bother to check this shit? Does anybody on Trump's side? Anybody? Worst ever. Well, if they're the worst ever, then they're better than Trump's at this point. And Trump, by the way, never got us out of Afghanistan. Maybe that's why Trump never actually went through with the infrastructure bill, because he thought it would be unpopular. Trump never cleared 44% approval rating his entire presidency. 44.8 was the highest number he got. 44.8. Never got to 49. Biden started at 55%. Now, after Afghanistan, this is where it dropped down. Day 20. And right here is where it'll start inching back up. Just get used to the idea. And right about here is where they have a problem. Because it's going to stabilize or go up because people are just going to get tired of the narrative. And it won't hold. It just won't. They're going to sell it bad. But he's still doing better than Trump at this point. Matter of fact, I'm just going to take a little picture of that, and I'll tweet that out later. Since we can reference this bullshit. Here, this guy. Hey, look, this guy's bullshit's up on his ceiling just like Glenn Beck's. But again, remember these guys. These are two guys who think you should take them seriously. And they are making the case the worst of any president ever. Worst of any president ever. Trump was way worse.
Now he has to secure the base. He has to give red meat to the crazy.
The red meat to the base. Yes, the base being people who don't want our Capitol stormed and shit in.
Of the base who voted for him. And that's all yesterday was. So really it was a kind of suicide mission because this will not help him in the midterm. So listen to this. Kamala Harris, okay, the cackler, also spoke yesterday. She called the insurrection, quote unquote, where one person died, one person who was a Trump voter, a 14-year Air Force veteran, an unarmed woman of about 100 pounds.
No. By the way, the whole unarmed thing with Ashley Babbitt, no. You don't get to bust a window that is being guarded by an armed guard that has been barricaded while they're evacuating members of Congress with a backpack on after 2 pipe bombs have been laid and say she was shot while she was unarmed. That's not how that shit works at all. You don't get to be the fucking first one through the breach in a situation like that and go, I was unarmed. Oh yeah, what were you doing? Just clearing the way for the people with the big guns? What the fuck are you talking about?
Was shot in the neck by a police officer, bled out on camera. Oh, the only fatality was a Trump supporter. She called yesterday.
No, there was another Trump supporter that died as well. She was dying of a drug overdose. She was trampled to death while they were unable to get her any kind of medical help because they didn't really give a fuck.
Equivalent to Pearl Harbor and 9/11, Mike. I'm not.
Yes. Not in their success, not in their damage, but in their attempt to dismantle democracy. Both were attacks on the country as a whole. Again, just because it was a bunch of fuck-ups run by a fuck up, and guided by other fuck ups. Thanks so much, Enrique. That's lovely. Doesn't mean it wasn't, honest to God, Pearl Harbor was a fuck up. It was horrible, and lots of our soldiers died. But in its attempt, it was a complete failure. There was tons of blowback.
I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? I saw as well Nancy Pelosi, who, if it wasn't for Joe Biden, would be probably the single oldest person ever to represent anybody anywhere. It's like something out of the Addams.
Yes, and imagine, that's the thing about old people, is that they're in ill health and can't think clearly.
You know, the way these people knock around. She was banging on about praying and having vigils and, the most frightening experience of her life and all of that. And, I'm sure it wasn't pleasant, but I mean, this was a bit of a rabble. These were people who were very angry, quite rightly, you might say, because they felt as though something had gone wrong, but they were certainly not in any.
They built a fucking gallows, dum-dum. They were chanting that they were going to hang the vice president, and these were people who were fans of the administration. What the fuck do you think they were going to do to the Democrats in there if they made it? If they hadn't been cleared out? They had zip ties, dumb fuck. It wouldn't have been pleasant. I mean, it might have been a little tight around your wrists until such time as they bludgeoned you to death.
Shape or form about to radically change the democratic process of American politics, were they?
Not in the slightest. There were a bunch of who.
There were a bunch of what?
I was there in the front row listening to President Trump on that day, who said, we're going to, quote, march peacefully and patriotically to Congress to make sure our representatives do their job. That's all that he wanted.
No. He said, but when we get down there, you're going to have to fight like hell, or we're not going to have a country left. Basically, you need to go down there quietly, or they will call the police. They will call in the National Guard. You got to walk down there and act like you're there to behave. And then as soon as you get there, it'll be too fucking late.
Then some hooligans got out of hand. We still don't know who exactly they were. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you do. 400 of them have been charged already. 400 have been jailed. 700 have been charged. Plus, we know who they are. Fucking MTG and Matt Gaetz have been visiting them in jail, fucko. Of course you know who they are. Yeah, but they didn't want to be there. They beat cops because some Antifa dude talked them into it.
That 3 of the people on the FBI's most wanted list after they hunted. Oh, yeah, that's great. Those nuns, those insurrectionist nuns. 3 of the people on the FBI. Women. Dangerous. The 3 of the people on the FBI's most wanted list after they hunted down these Trump supporters suddenly
The storm is here. Trump won. Biden lost. Patriots versus what?
disappeared from the FBI's wanted list.
Steelers. I see. Patriots versus the Steelers. Yeah, okay.
Why is that? I mean, we want questions asked and we want them answered. We don't want a witch hunt. And on top of that, we just don't want double standards.
There's a dude did you see the Q flag?
3 hours. We had the first Republican riot in the history of the Republic for 3 hours. Okay, what about the summer of BLM?
Yeah, they attacked targets. That would never affect the ability for us to count electoral votes and proceed with the peaceful exchange of power in the country. And comparing the two is equally as offensive. This motherfucker thinks that the Capitol building is just another Target. It's just another, shopping mall. Just another hair salon. Fuck it.
Antifa. For months, we had 1,000 law enforcement officers wounded. We had $3 billion worth of damage done to American businesses.
Yeah. And at no point did a Democrat say, walk down there peacefully and patriotically. But if those cops don't do what you want, you're going to have to fight like hell or you're not going to have a country left. Find one.
And we had 40 people killed, Mike, across the country in the name of social justice. Half of them were black, like this retired police captain, David Dorn, who went to his buddy's store.
Well, and people are going to jail for it. The FBI is looking into the people who cross state lines to go to those places. They actually coordinated across state lines. That's the federal system. And then the state and local forces are getting people that live in their state who did this shit. That's standard law enforcement stuff. Protesting is a natural part of the country, but at no point did they seek to overturn our functional government in that way.
Help protect it from the rioters,
lazy.
Is shot and bleeds out on Facebook, and he's a black police officer helping his buddy. Let's not have double standards. Kamala Harris, I tweeted it out last night. If you got
you do have a double standard. There's two standards in this area. You should, because other people who are breaking the law are got away with it, or you perceive them. They didn't get away with it, but you perceive them to. Your people should be allowed to get away with it.
You guys don't believe me. Go to my Twitter feed, Seb Gorka.
Yeah.
She tweeted out last summer her.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still on Twitter. You haven't been kicked off. I thought all conservatives have been broomed from social media. I thought it was a big thing of censorship, and nobody's free to speak anymore.
To raise funds for the rioters' bail. The vice president is raising.
No, for protesters' bail, people who were scooped up unnecessarily, not the people who created violent acts or were engaged in violent acts. That's the separation. You guys are conflating those two. In the same way that you conflate the average Republican voter with people who would shit in the Capitol, in the people's house, or attack a cop with a... Because to Gorka, the standard run-of-the-mill Republican voter would, if given half a chance, attack a Capitol police officer with a Blue Lives Matter flagpole and try to tase them to death with their own gun with their own taser before stealing their gun and killing them. That's standard Republican operating procedure, according to Seb Gorka.
Let's have some fair play here, and let's have the same treatment for BLM and Antifa rioters as we did for the handful of...
I mean, fuck, we've covered these things. They are. The FBI's looking for all of them. They've arrested a bunch of them. And by the way, the FBI isn't looking for the ones that are inside the state unless they particularly attacked a state building or a federal building. And even still, that's up to the local prosecutor. That in some ways is a Portland issue or a Seattle issue if they were letting people out because they were afraid to look bad, instead of holding people who were charged with dangerous shit.
Who went crazy for a couple of hours a year ago.
Yeah, and that's entirely correct, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, there are people who are buying some of this stuff. You know, I've been seeing some people posting various things on Facebook and other places where they genuinely believe that America is somehow in peril now because of some secret plot which is being hatched somewhere deep in the...
Well, no, for the record, you're right. I don't think we're in danger at all. Because you're a loser, he's a loser, Trump's a loser, the people who stormed the Capitol are fucking losers. They're never going to be able to pull it off. It was always going to be a failed cuckoo. It was never going to amount to shit. It was just awful and violent and terrible. Their attempt was fucked up. But they're not going to be successful. They aren't. They were never going to be successful. They thought they were. That's why they felt free to beat cops near to death. That's why they felt it was their right to break windows and storm into the Capitol, because they thought Trump had their back, and he has no one's back, not even his own. And these fuckers are, third tier Trumpies. Not going to happen either. We have nothing to fear from these dipshits. Nothing.
Of Mar-a-Lago, where there's kind of, Doctor Strange, the Penguin, all sorts of characters who are sitting around there plotting. Yeah, Blofeld's there with his cat, the whole thing. But, I mean, actually, this is genuinely modern-day American democratic politics now.
Dude, which is obviously bullshit. Why don't you just talk about the deep state now? Listen, dipshits. Can I step in here for a second? Because this softball bullshit's driving me crazy. Like, if you're gonna... Come on, man. Come on. You're gonna do an interview, ask some fucking questions. I'm watching these two guys, gargle each other's balls in the only way they possibly could, because logistically, physically, an impossibility. But please, Yeah, there's nobody. Oh, nobody's fucking around. There's no big plot to attack the Capitol, even though there fucking well was, and they even called it the War Room at the fucking Willard, right? There's nobody. But tell me about the deep state. Yeah, it's a big conspiracy, and George Soros is running the whole fucking thing.
Let me.
Blow me out if I have a candle in me. If I do, it's your birthday, and you don't deserve me anyways.
Another British channel yesterday, and they said, well, this is, America's so divisive now. Excuse me, my parents as kids suffered under fascist occupation.
Yeah.
My dad was persecuted.
And with any luck, you will again. If your dreams come true, keep believing, Sub Gorka. Keep the hope alive that one day you'll install a fascist dictator and you can suffer under it as well. I mean, you'll do well for a little while, but that's the thing with fascists and commies is that eventually it's the friendlies that go up against the wall.
Tortured and imprisoned by the communists that replaced the Nazis. I don't like countries where you're not allowed to disagree. I don't want
this dude. By the way, I'm gonna go out on a limb as a Cupcake and say, stay the fuck away from me, buddy. You're drinking so much water. I'm thinking diabetes. I don't know where I'm getting that idea, but I'm just saying, unless you're having to take horse pills on a fucking schedule and they're hard to swallow. Jesus.
A unitary nation where there's one opinion and there's no division, because that's called a dictatorship. I'm not excusing what happened with the hooligans, but I want a nation where there is robust and vigorous disagreement, because that's how a republic works.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. That we want vigorous debate. That's why all the Republicans vote lockstep to stop anything they don't like, and anybody who veers outside the lines is considered a traitor. Not just somebody who has a difference of opinion but still has good, strong conservative values. No, Liz Cheney is a traitor to the United States and to the Republican Party because she doesn't buy all of Jim Jones's fucking Jordan, whatever the fuck his name is. Who cares?
As far as the whole state of the nation is concerned, Sebastin, I mean, how goes Verizon Gate, for example? The last time you and I spoke, they were trying to find out how many pizzas you'd ordered on.
I was on, for the record, I was on with technical support with Verizon all fucking day. True story. And I felt bad for the guy. It was a technical issue, and the dude was busting his ass. And I just want to say thank you, Verizon, and the guy who helped me out. It's fucked up. It was a lot of work. You were ice skating uphill, and you did great. Don't let any people who angrily yell at you like the shit tech issues are easy to fix. Tell them Red Cupcake said fuck off.
What's going on with that?
Yes, so last time we spoke, I discussed this late Christmas present I got from Verizon from their Subpoena compliance department, right, where they said, yeah, we don't care about your First Amendment rights.
Yeah, you might want to open it, might want to read it. If you bring a sealed envelope, I'm going to guess you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I got this thing, it's in here. Trust me, what it says. I'm not going to do what it says. What does it say? I don't fucking know. I assume what it says, so I didn't open it.
Giving out all your phone metadata to Nancy's witch hunting Congress, which is interesting because it says every phone associated with the account. That's my wife. Right. That's my kids. And I said, well, what do I do about it?
Well, and next time, separate your shit, dummy. Don't drag your family into your criminal empire. Ask your cartel buddies from Europe about that shit. You run two separate lines. Get a burner like Rudy Giuliani.
You're crazies, but I changed my mind. I spoke to a former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia who said, you can't let them get away with this garbage.
Yeah, call the District of Colombo. He's got a lazy eye, but and he's always got one more question, but he's good to work with.
Hired some not inexpensive lawyers, and on Tuesday we filed a 22-page motion to quash.
That's like $10,000 a page. Money well spent, fucko.
The whole thing at my new website, gorka.locals.com. And guys, I don't like lawyers in general. These people...
You didn't buy Gorka.com a long time ago? The fuck?
Like, you nailed it. Dave, you nailed it. The committee is illegal because we don't have any Republicans chosen by the Republican Party, which is illegal.
Nailed it. This dude couldn't nail a knot in a tree.
an investigative committee. And number two, it is a complete arrogation of my First Amendment rights to privacy and my Fourth Amendment rights. The Constitution is clear. You are protected as an American.
No. If you engage in criminality with other people who are engaged in criminality and you get swept up, if they get their phone under a legit thing and your texts show up on their shit involved in criminality, they get another warrant for that and then they get you. This isn't even fucking difficult, fucko.
Against undue search and seizure, giving over my phone data.
That's true. Unreasonable, first of all, not undue, dipshit. But I'm glad you're paying for those big fancy lawyers. Did they teach you that word? Did they say it was undue instead of unreasonable? This is the problem is you can't say unreasonable because this is totally fucking reasonable. Because they've gotten other people and you were in communication with those other people and those people were engaged in criminality and you were engaged in talking about that criminality. So they got another fucking, like this, the fucking lazy, call your lawyer. He'll charge you $300 to call you a dumbass and hang up.
I haven't been accused of a crime. I was listening to my boss, my former boss, in the front row of the speech at the Ellipse. I guess that's a crime now, Nancy. But as I said earlier, they chose the wrong guy because my parents have suffered true oppression. My father died.
Well, yes, they had you as a son.
With the scars of the secret police tortures on his body. So I gave a big speech where I said, Vance.
So your dream is to make sure other people feel those things?
Bring it, because I'm ready. I would relish, my lawyers say they're probably going to subpoena you. I am just waiting. I'm itching.
And Greg, don't worry about it. We love you.
Like to be in the same room with people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and give them a bit of what for it.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
Then do it, you dipshit. What the fuck? You get to talk a big fucking game. And then you're like, these people. And then I'm going to fight the subpoena. Don't fight it then. Go stand up. You got nothing to be afraid of. Go sit there. Give them what for, dum-dum. Yeah, I want to give them a piece of my mind. But, I'm not going to testify on principle. It's the principle of the thing. Principally that I'll go to jail if I have to say shit under oath.
Envy their task, but I would certainly watch it, that's for sure. But I mean, for lawmakers, they seem pretty ignorant of the U.S. Constitution.
They don't care. They just ride roughshod over it and trap.
Then what's the hard part? They don't even need the fucking subpoena. Volunteer it. Why do they have to subpoena your records? You knew you were in contact with the president on that day and people at the Willard? How about this? Why the fuck do they even have to ask?
Why? Because for them, what else do they have? Think about what's happened. The border is open.
They got like 300 people that they're keying up for indictment, including the former president. That's what they have. What do they have? I'll tell you what they have. They have fucking forged documents that say that Trump won the election from 2 states. Did you see that shit? Holy hell. Let me grab that. I got that shit in here somewhere. Hold on. I know. I don't have to tell you. Here you go, dum-dum. Check this shit out. There you go. Somebody forged documents saying that Trump actually won the Michigan electoral votes. Look at this. For president, Trump, Mike Pence. Here's all these signatures. These are all fake. Forged fucking documents. Ladies and gentlemen, because they love America. They wrote this shit up and they tried to get it sent down. We, the underside, duly elected, qualified electors, which they fucking well aren't. And then they forged their fucking signatures. For America.
2 million illegal immigrants. We've got the highest inflation since 1991. Record high.
No. We do not have the highest inflation since 1991. Not even fucking close. Gas prices are down from 2014.
Prices on and on. We've got 4 million people who decided to.
America is the number one liquid natural gas exporter in the whole fucking world for the first time ever under Joe Biden.
On the dole last month. I mean, ask anybody here with a business. You can't hire people because they're getting checks to stay at home.
No, the checks are fucking gone, dum-dum. They don't have to work. People are getting a wage increase, so sometimes partners can now, here's a fucking flip your switch. Stay home and watch the kids. You know, all those conservative family values you fuckos have been talking about all this goddamn time. Now it actually can play out.
From the China virus. Yeah. It's a disaster. Right. Kamala Harris's approval ratings are in the...
Who cares? The fucking case rate is up because Omicron is very contagious. The death rate and the hospitalization rate is in the fucking basement. It's working.
20s, Mike. Low 20s. So we have a party that has nothing to run on in the middle.
Hey, tell you what. Hey, fucko, I had a good idea. Tell you what. When Kamala Harris's favorability ratings get in the people from her own party storming a fucking building yelling for her to be hung, then we'll talk.
So what are they going to do? They're going to subpoena Gorka's phone record, and they're going to talk about the quote-unquote insurrection.
Yeah. Don't worry, fucko. We don't think you're important. Don't think for a second we actually think you're important. We just know that other assholes who might be higher up the chain contacted you or through you, and they're going to use your phone records and your testimony to confirm or deny some of that shit. You're not valuable.
They have nothing else to run on.
No. Meanwhile,
well, they kind of do. Like, have you seen the unemployment rate? Have you seen the wage increases? Have you seen the infrastructure bill? Any of that shit? They don't have anything else to run on, do they? No? All right.
I see that people are being arrested for taking their children to a restaurant. Did you see those videos? Unbelievable, right? What's going on?
This is a little bit personal for me because before I joined the...
Have another drink of water. I would suggest limiting your sugar intake. I'm going with insulin shock.
House. I did counterterrorism training for law enforcement, for the FBI and for state and local, and I've trained thousands of guys.
Oh, so that's how they managed to get into the Capitol.
Counterterrorism stuff. And to see somebody with a badge and a gun arrest a kid in a burger joint because you don't have vaccine papers. Look, they've said it for years about...
It's a city fucking ordinance, dummy. What does that have to do with Biden?
Abortion, the 40 million kids that have been killed in the womb in the United States.
Like you give a fuck in the ones that are born. Tell you what. You get adoption and orphanages and school lunches and medical care for children and all this shit. You get all that sorted out. Then you can talk to me about why women won't carry a baby to term. You lock up all the fucking rapists. How many rapes have there been in Texas since Abbott said he was going to get rid of it? 3,000?
Wade. And I say to them now, my body, my choice. You can't have medical...
Ew. Don't talk about your body. You're going to cause this dude to have bulimia.
And the saddest thing is, look at the stinking figures, guys. The mortality rate for kids, just spend 3 minutes on a search engine. The mortality rate for kids from COVID isn't 5%, isn't 1%. It is 0.05. So what the hell are you doing?
Well, with Omicron, it actually went up, dum-dum. That's the concern. That the moment you let your guard down, that's when it sweeps in and wipes them the fuck out. They're being cautious because they actually give a fuck. They actually care. You don't give a fuck. You're like, you got it, yeah. You lose a couple, dozen thousand kids. You use 40,000 kids and you fuck them. You know what I mean? You're going to lose them anyways, right?
Closing schools, putting masks on them. And now I went into a shop, Mike, where I refused.
And by the way, closing schools, the fuck? Let's see. Closing school. Are they closing the schools again? Really? Is Is that what Biden's saying? There you go. Yeah, maybe it's something wrong with my reading comprehension. Fuck off with this later. Biden. Yeah, you know how Democrats are with the whole, and I can understand this kind of story. You see this in the news. It's a little, what does it really mean? It's a little, it's on the fucking fence. How do I even? Where do I even? What do I even? No, if I can keep the schools open so we know where to arrest all the kids. That's what he's doing. Jesus.
A mask. And the young woman behind the counter said, put a mask on now because I can't get my kids vaccinated because they're under 5. And I thought, hang on a second. You're a young, healthy woman and you've got like 3-year-olds you want to vaccinate? Are you nuts?
I know.
Are you crazy?
No. Hold on. Fucking hell. Unbelievably rare. And yet it happened. Jesus.
It's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, I've got terrible news this morning. I mean, luckily she seems to be okay, but a friend of mine and Kevin O'Sullivan's had a heart attack last night, was unable to get an ambulance. So the husband, another friend of ours, drove her to hospital. As he's literally supporting her, walking into the doors of the A&E, they're asking them to put masks on.
Oh my God.
Can you believe that?
No, that's just that's when you know it's a cult. It's just a flipping cult. And stop living in fear. This is what saddens me is somebody who grew up in the UK, who grew up under Maggie, who was proud to be living in Britain. What the flip has happened to the nation of Winnie, the Churchill, the Tommies? We will fight them on the beaches. Really, Mike, come on, let's get a grip. Brexit showed the way. The British people are still there. The heart and gold of this nation is still there. But this genuflection to the cultic, it's like Fauci here. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear 3 masks. Now you're going to have to be boosted every 6 months. Yeah. It's sheer insanity. They are science. They say we're science deniers. They're the science deniers. I've had COVID. I have more antibodies than any vaccine will ever give me. And I'm just not afraid, Mike.
No. I think most people are in that place, even those who might have been afraid this time last year, because this time last year was a different game. And I think we are now. I mean, there's some fantastic news today. Richard Tice was here with me this morning. There's a couple of schools up in the north of England where the kids are saying, we're not wearing masks. Stick them where the sun don't shine. And that's how we're going to get out of it,
They should be the advisors to Downing Street. Those kids, the health policy advisors to Downing Street. That's my vote.
Yeah, absolutely right. Listen, well, Sebastin, good luck with the legal case. I'm sure you won't need it. And do tell us if you are going to be appearing.
Yeah, he fucking will. And these assholes don't give a rat fuck if Omicron is the version that just kills babies. They don't give a rat fuck.
For the beak, because we would like to probably cover it and take it live.
I'm going to make it a pay-per-view event. If they subpoena me, that's going to be a pay-per-view event, Mike. Cheers.
Superb. Listen, have a good...
No, it won't, fucko. It'll be on public television. It'll be on C-SPAN for fucking free, dummy. And it won't even rate. You'll be sweating the whole time. He'll drink more water than this fuckhead. He'll answer 15 questions, hand over a bunch of documents, and be broomed like the asshole he is. Get used to the idea. Hi, you're watching me, Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide live stream. I'm on every weekday from 3 to 5, approximately. I mean, I'm hanging around a little extra today. It's true. It's just true.